Turning now to the race for the White House. Donald Trump was expected to release medical details from a recent physical in an interview being taped today for the Dr. Oz show. But now we've learned that the interview will focus less on medical specifics and more on his general well-being. Let's get right to Philip Rucker. He's a national correspondent for the Washington Post, joins me from Washington. Philip, earlier I asked Trump campaign senior advisor A.J. Delgado when we can actually expect to see the medical records. She told me she'd personally like to see Trump release his records when Clinton releases hers. What do you make of this?
Well, we know less about Donald Trump's medical history today than we do about Hillary Clinton's. She put out a pretty detailed doctor's letter about a year ago that had a lot of the top line stats about her health that we simply don't know about Donald Trump. He put out a doctor's letter at the beginning of the campaign that was essentially a sham, kind of a joke letter, and he said he was going to put out his actual physical results on this Dr. Oz show. He has since backed away from that claim. The campaign aides have not explained if something is wrong with his health or why he has backed away from it, but certainly there's a lack of transparency from Donald Trump about his personal health.
You know, we haven't seen outrage, I don't think, or maybe we're not hearing a lot about it from the public in regards to this. We hear a little bit about taxes, but not as much, it seems like, about health records. What do you make of that?
Well, here's the problem. The Trump campaign is trying to say that Hillary Clinton has an issue with transparency because she was so secretive on Sunday about her own health until the end of the day and hasn't put out more than that initial doctor's letter. But they can't make that argument unless they're going to come forward with Trump's information, and we just don't have that information. Now, the campaign says they are going to put out some health information in the coming days. Maybe it'll be next week. Who knows? But as of now, we don't have it. We also don't have his tax returns, and that is like a really kind of fundamental piece of information that every presidential candidate in modern history has released. Mike Pence, his running mate, put out several years, I think 10 years worth of tax returns, and Donald Trump has refused to do so despite pressure for many months from the media as well as from Democrats.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that transparency in a minute. I want to get to some hacked emails that were out today from former Secretary of State Colin Powell. He calls Trump a national disgrace and an international pariah, but he also criticizes Hillary Clinton for using him to explain her use of a private email server. What impact will these statements, what do you see them having on both of these campaigns?
You know, I don't know that this one series of emails is going to have much of an impact electorally. I don't think anyone mistook Colin Powell for a supporter of Donald Trump's. He had been quiet throughout the campaign, probably because he wanted to stay out of the race. But it's not like he was some supporter who's been caught bad-mouthing Trump behind his back. I think we all sort of assumed he was not on board with the Trump train, so to speak.
The issue of transparency, which I said we'll get back to, that obviously has been in the headlines with the New York Attorney General now looking into the Donald J. Trump Foundation. And it's your paper, the Washington Post, that really has opened things up, done a great job reporting on some of the charitable giving that's there and not there. How do you see this playing out right now?
It's very damaging for Donald Trump, I think, and it's not just the Washington Post, but it's one reporter in particular, David Farenthold, who's been driving this reporting for many months. And it's just a continual series of stories that is exposing the Trump Family Foundation for basically being a fraudulent foundation. They don't spend rather very much, if any, of Donald Trump's own money. They're taking in money from other people for charity and then spending it on things like, for example, a 6-foot-tall portrait that was commissioned of Donald Trump. That's something that Dave Farenthold first reported. And I think these are the kind of details that stick with people and make people really wonder, voters that is, really wonder, is this guy an honest broker? Is he sort of a role model for the country? And, you know, I just don't know. And I should note that the Trump tax returns would provide a lot of information about his charitable giving. He claims that he's given millions of dollars in charity. There's no evidence of that that Farenthold has found. If Donald Trump were to release his tax returns, it would actually document the kinds of personal gifts that he has made, if any, to charity, but they've declined to do so until now.
Yeah, and if I'm remembering, basically the reporting is on the foundation's tax returns, and that's why we're seeing it.
That's right.
I know that the Trump campaign has said the portrait, also the Tim Tebow memorabilia that was purchased, that was at charitable events, so it was being given to charity. But why should people be concerned with the fact that Donald Trump's foundation may not be giving what he says, what the campaign has said, tens of millions of dollars is what he's been giving to charity?
Well, they claim he's given personally tens of millions of dollars to charity through his foundation, and there's simply no evidence of that. We've not found any proof that he's given that money. That's not to say he hasn't given the money, but they've not provided any evidence to back up the claim. And I think it speaks to a broader sense of whether you can trust Donald Trump, whether he's an honest broker, whether he's as effective a businessman as he claims he is. And it also undercuts the argument that Trump and other Republicans are making about the Clinton Foundation. We've heard for months about the controversies at the Clinton Foundation, allegations of pay to play, donations from foreign countries and foreign leaders. But it's not as if the Trump Foundation is operating as sort of a holier than thou organization. There are a lot of problems at the Trump Foundation, and the more that those are exposed, the more it undercuts the case against the Clinton Foundation.
We saw yesterday President Obama on the campaign trail for Hillary Clinton. How much influence can he have, especially the region where he was yesterday in Pennsylvania, a battleground state like that?
I think he can have a lot of influence. I was at that rally in Philadelphia yesterday. There was a big crowd, a really beautiful day. There are a couple things that Obama's trying to do. One is to turn out his base supporters. That's African Americans, Latinos, young people, millennials, a lot of women as well. Philadelphia, that is like ground zero in this campaign for the Obama coalition. If he can help Hillary turn out big support among minority voters in Philadelphia, she can win Pennsylvania as a state. So Obama's trying to do that. The other thing he's trying to do is undercut Donald Trump, and it seems that he has a singular credibility when it comes to talking about Donald Trump, and it's because he's the current president. So everybody else can talk about, oh, Trump is dangerous, oh, Trump is unfit for office, but here we have the actual sitting president telling the American public, look, guys, get serious, this guy is dangerous, he should not be representing our country, and here's why. And I think that has more power to it than anything that Hillary Clinton or her other surrogates can say.
Philip Rucker of the Washington Post, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.